I brought this out, and in researching it, I realised that there are some quite serious barriers to women's progress in the workplace that we could all help with, men and women together, if we understood them a bit better. Started with a group of other women, something called the 30% Club. So this is 10 years ago now, 2010. And we decided that if we didn't find a way to help advance more women into the boardroom, that we would probably end up with legislation. I'm not a great believer in legislation, despite the fact we're going to go on to talk about legislation. I think that legislation that tells us that we have to have X number of women means that we would just be appointing X number of women to tick the box. Whereas what I'd prefer is that we achieved parity in the workplace through encouraging and developing women and encouraging and developing men to help women, and the other way around as well. So I see this as something that's us all in it together. So the Equality Act 2010 is which Kate I think mentioned anyway last time as well, is the key piece of legislation, and it replaced and consolidated lots of other things. There was an Equal Pay Act back in 1970 that it replaced. There was a Sex Discrimination Act back in 1975. There was a race relations, because equality doesn't just apply, of course, to gender. As Kate discussed, there was a Disability Discrimination Act. So it replaced all of these things. It also replaced 3 major statutory instruments protecting discrimination or preventing discrimination in employment on the grounds of religion or belief, sexual. Finally, women tend to suffer double discrimination in intersectionality. The intersectionality, Kate may well have talked about to you before. This is the hot word in and around diversity and inclusion. 66% of women receive negative feedback on their personal style versus 1% of men. So people tend not to give men feedback on their personal style, and they tend to give women feedback on their personal style. With 4 men and 2 women, and most of the talking is being done by the men. And you notice that one of the female colleagues at the meeting has said very little. And at one point, when one of them does start to speak, they're interrupted. Now, all the research shows, by the way, that women are interrupted more than men. We did this in group 3, didn't we? Group 3. Bias happens because people make assumptions that it's very important to do things, to proactively do things. So I'm suggesting that everybody is thinking about things they can, interventions you can make when any of these things happen, and anything else like it. 85% of communication is non-verbal. This is something that really affects women in a major way. And today, as I said, I would refer you to this case of the maths teacher, which is a real case. And don't be afraid to speak up if you see these things.